Most people know there are places to get rid of your unused prescription medications. A dumpster isn't one of them.
No, it's not. So when the KSL investigators got a tip that there was a dumpster filled with drugs, we went to Price to personally dig into it. There are times in life
Is that your ID?
Yeah.
when you get caught in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Price 217, I'll be in contact with one male inside of a dumpster.
And inside a dumpster is usually the wrong place.
You don't have anything else on you? Don't reach in your pockets. Come stand over here for me.
This guy here, let's call him Joe, was definitely in the wrong place at the wrong time. But this story is not about Joe. It's about what Joe found in that dumpster.
This dumpster is loaded with pills.
Prescription drugs, and not just a few. Enough to surprise even a couple of Price police officers.
How much is in there?
A lot. Go look.
Holy sh!
Yeah.
Even with this police video, it is hard to tell just how many pills were inside the dumpster that day. But according to the police report, officers collected 29 pounds of medication with patient information.
Why are they throwing all this in here and not properly disposing of it? Yeah.
Police say the pills were dumped by a local mental health facility, Four Corners Community Behavioral Health. So, with that information, the KSL investigators took a little trip to Price. To check out that very dumpster located on a very public street to see if it was still happening. But after searching through every sack, each piece of trash, and mounds of grass clippings, we came up empty-handed.
It was an accident. It was an accidental discarding of medications.
Karen Dolan is director of Four Corners. She says the whole thing was an unfortunate mistake.
Weeks ago, we had a newer staff member cleaning out a cupboard, and she had packaged some expired psychiatric medications in a garbage bag, threw it in the dumpster.
Has this ever happened before?
Not to my knowledge, absolutely not.
A one-time mix-up, but let's go back to that police video.
You're saying that Four Corners dumps all these pills? Yeah, that's what he just said. It's Four Corners always throws away all their old patient pills.
And let's examine the police report, which says that Joe looks in the garbage can at Four Corners often because he has a soft spot for psychiatric medication, and Four Corners throws medication away.
Said he's always had a weakness for psych meds.
Whether it's happened before, we may never know, but
they should know better, you would think.
Brian Besser leads the DEA here in Salt Lake City. He says medication dumped in the garbage could pollute our water system.
29 pounds of prescription drugs, if you really think about it from an environmental standpoint, is 29 pounds of poison.
And maybe more concerning, as Besser says, the drugs could end up in the hands of people who are vulnerable, like children or addicts.
I treat this as a very, very serious issue.
All right, back to the video one last time. Police can be seen hauling away two big bags, supposedly containing the discarded drugs. They're taking them to be incinerated. However, the KSL investigators learned no citation was ever given to the behavioral health facility. Why? It turns out there's no law in Utah against dumping medications in the trash.
Why isn't there a law?
Besser says maybe there should be.
There should be some type of accountability for disposing, improperly disposing of drugs that are contributing to the opioid epidemic and could accidentally or inadvertently poison someone. That is not something that we take lightly.
Dolan says she doesn't take it lightly either and claims the types of drugs that went in the trash.
Psychiatric medications, so antidepressants, antipsychotic medications.
Were not narcotics or opiates, which are known to be highly addictive, but were other classes of drugs. Dangerous for somebody who shouldn't be taking them, though?
Could be. Yeah, could be. But luckily, it was caught right in the nick of time, so we're very grateful.
Let's be very clear here, okay?
Caught in the nick of time.
Can't be getting in dumpsters looking for stuff.
By a guy in the wrong place at the wrong time. Four Corners Behavioral Health says that the only information on the medications was client names, no social security numbers or birth dates. They alerted the affected patients. How often this happens with clinics and hospitals around the state, well, it's really anyone's guess. If you would like to find out how to properly dispose of your prescription medications, just go to useonlyasdirected.org. We're also going to have a link on our website that is ksl.com.
I feel that justice wasn't done. It's just as simple as that. Justice was not done.
What happened in this neighborhood's happening all over the Salt Lake Valley. Police catching criminals, but the jail won't take them. Officers in a number of departments have been telling KSL a jail policy has made things so bad that the public needs to know what's going on.
Tonight, an investigation that began last summer. Here's Debbie DeJanovic.
Salt Lake City Police, come outside with your hands up.
It's like a scene out of a TV crime drama.
Come out now with your hands in the air.
But it really did happen in the avenues.
Salt Lake Police, if you're in here, call out now.
Police say squatters broke into a vacant home.
Salt Lake Police, if you're in here, call out now. Police, anyone in here, call out now.
Which house is it?
It's this house.
Kim Stockdale, who lives next door, says this is usually a pretty quiet neighborhood.
There was a lockbox on the front door.
The home's owner lived out of state.
Said this for sale sign was where? It was right here?
Was right here.
Kim thought maybe he'd rented it.
Saw a young woman ride up the bike at 171 and go in.
And she was worried.
No lights on in the house.
Like a good neighbor, she took notes.
More moving in after dark again.
So about a week goes by, the real estate agent stops in, takes one look around, and calls police.
And when the police came, they were barricaded in a back room.
Keep your hands up. Walk backwards towards my voice. Go down to your knees.
Police handcuffed several people that day, and naturally, neighbors thought.
I'm thinking they need to go to jail.
I hope you understand that this isn't what I'm doing.
But they're not going to jail.
I can only do what the jail will allow me to do.
The offense wasn't a felony, and in Salt Lake County, if it's not a felony like murder, kidnapping, rape, dealing drugs, officers are not allowed to take suspects to jail.
Grab your stuff.
This neighborhood was essentially victimized by crime, and nobody went to jail.
Nope, nobody went to jail.
Police departments aren't happy about it either, but it's not up to them. The Salt Lake County Sheriff runs the jail, and last March he issued this order to help manage the inmate population. Police officers all over the valley tell me it's wreaking havoc on the streets.
It's been ridiculous.
Sergeant Scott Morcus.
It's created real problems for us. We need to be able to book people into jail again for the crimes they commit. I mean, it's just such a basic idea of our criminal justice system.
Before, police were able to use their judgment on which suspects should go to jail. The basic premise is this: communities are safer with bad guys behind bars, even temporarily, while criminal charges are pursued. But the new plan bars police from jailing almost all suspects who commit misdemeanor offenses.
People can assault a police officer.
Yep.
They can get caught shooting up heroin.
Yep.
They can break into a car and steal stuff.
Yep.
And they don't go to jail.
Correct. So he's got a Class A warrant for assaulting a police officer, and we can't take him to jail.
All right, here you go.
Now let's say someone assaults you while you're walking down the street.
And we would not be able to take him to jail for it.
Alpha 716.
So this guy was just shooting up heroin.
Use drugs? No jail. And?
You could go break into that car down there, steal something, and I could watch you do it and catch you, and I'd get the stuff back, but you wouldn't be going to jail. A vehicle burglary is a Class A misdemeanor.
I've never heard of such a thing.
I wanted to speak with the Salt Lake County Sheriff to ask if he has plans to change the policy. He declined to be interviewed for my report. For now, cops can only issue tickets and then have to release suspects on the spot. And many don't bother to appear in court, so
he's got 15 warrants right now.
Misdemeanor warrants for their arrest pile up. But police can't, you guessed it, take them to jail.
Like, we literally have people walking around down here with 25+ misdemeanor warrants out for their arrest. They get to walk away every single time.
No jail.
No jail.
You can't lock the front door of the jail.
Since fall, Chief Mike Brown has been tracking how the policy is affecting safety in Salt Lake City.
It was impacting the citizens. It was impacting the way we want to serve our communities.
Now his officers document if an offender should go to jail, but can't go to jail. This month's data showed 40% of the suspects Salt Lake City police caught could not be booked into jail.
We're just leaving in the neighborhoods.
And the data shows it's making neighborhoods more dangerous. For example, when police weren't allowed to take a suspect to jail for theft and drugs, he later returned to the establishment and beat up 2 employees. A new analysis by Salt Lake Police says the jail's plan gives the appearance of lawlessness. And crime data shows an increase in theft, assaults, forgeries, intoxication, and drug abuse.
There needs to be justice. You do the crime, you pay the time.
Kim Stockdale says it makes her feel unsafe. You see, not long after police had to let those squatters go, they returned. And thankfully, they couldn't break into that same home again.
Salt Lake Police, if you're in here, call out now.
It means to me that somebody can get away with whatever they want to. And I don't like that.
To be clear, there are some misdemeanors like domestic violence, DUI, child abuse that are still booked into the Salt Lake County Jail. But you may be wondering if all the beds at both jail facilities in Salt Lake County are being used up. The jail told me there are hundreds of empty beds, but there's no funding to put inmates in them. Now, 20 years ago, the main jail was built with the premise it could be expanded. That has not happened.
We've all experienced it at some point or another. The phone rings, you answer it, and the person on the other end believes they have called somebody else, a wrong number.
But what happens when you don't answer and they leave a message with some very sensitive information? Mike and the KSL investigators found out.
Yeah, David and Ashley, it's happened to a Utah County man, and we're not talking about 1 or 2 missed dials here. How about hundreds, maybe even thousands over a matter of weeks? And the information on his voicemail could ruin anyone's finances.
Imagine life as a wacky 80s sitcom. The comical, hardworking dad, the put-together stay-at-home mom, and those 3 mischievous kids you simply cannot get enough of. Tonight's episode, Wrong Number Hijinks. Well, another day and Brandon just cannot seem...
I'm trying to pay my credit card bill online.
...to get off that phone.
I would like to make a payment.
I'm trying to make a payment.
I'm calling to make a payment.
Call after call.
I didn't make a payment, and that's not like me.
Message.
I don't want to leave a message.
I keep leaving messages, but nobody calls me back.
After message.
So please call me back.
Can you call me back?
So can you please call me and explain what the annual fee is for?
Complete strangers dialing him up.
20 to 50 phone calls a day.
Under the impression, get this.
I'm trying to book a flight.
He works for an international airline.
And you have no morning flight?
Sometimes a multi-billion-dollar bank.
I would like to know my current available credit line.
Or maybe even customer relations.
And I would like a call back as soon as possible.
Which apparently...
And this system stinks.
Needs a little bit of work. Now, the reason this system stinks is because, well, Brandon isn't even a part of the system. No, not funny, because he and his wife, Ricky, have been getting these calls.
I mean, they're in the middle of the night.
Seemingly nonstop.
The middle of the day.
For the past couple of months.
My card that I just activated.
My online banking.
JetBlue MasterCard.
And it all began the day they set up an online business to make a little extra money. A business where Ricky finds hot deals on the internet.
Moms, kids, jewelry.
And links them to her website.
So this is kind of my collection that I really focus on.
The name on the website, nextwavedeals.com. The phone number on the website,
1-800-WAVE-104.
Almost the exact same number Barclay JetBlue credit card holders have printed on the backside.
You probably dialed 800 instead of 866.
Of their credit cards.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. This happens a lot.
The last 7 digits are identical, but the first 3, well, Brandon's got the 800 number, Barclay's is 866. On this day alone, 8 calls in roughly an hour. Not a single one of them for the family's online business. And here's the most concerning part.
679500080.
All those numbers
9100
are credit card numbers.
PIN code on the back is
60612.
Complete strangers are leaving on his voicemail. Again. Not funny. Every single day, the wrong guy is getting full names, credit card numbers, 3-digit security codes, and expiration dates. Personal information casually handed over.
To speak to a representative.
After listening to Brandon's very basic and non-specific recording for his online business.
Extension 0.
Now, a quick comparison for you, and this...
Welcome to JetBlue MasterCard customer service.
Well, that's what the actual recording sounds like for Barclays JetBlue credit card holders. Big difference, right? Well, concerned with the issue at
Can I
hand,
speak with somebody in the security department?
Brandon got on the horn with the credit card company's customer service department. And let's just say,
So I don't actually have an account with you. Can I just speak with your manager then, please? Some of your customers are calling my phone number and leaving their credit card numbers on my voicemail.
there's really no easy way.
We'll save a lot of time if you just transfer me to the security department.
No, sir, it cannot be done.
To get the problem solved.
I've called you guys 4 or 5 times, and you guys before have told me that there was pretty much nothing you could do.
And unfortunately, that is the case because it sounds like customers are just misdialing.
Misdials costing Brandon hundreds of dollars. Misdials causing Brandon hundreds of headaches. And misdials giving credit card customers
Screwed me out of money last month. Holy sh!
Now it seems like everything has been all screwed up and changed.
Someone better get back to me soon.
hundreds of reasons to say,
What the hell?
Barclay card sucks.
whoa. Easy there, guys. This is a family show. Bottom line, the mega huge Barclays Bank isn't about to change its number. And while Brandon has a noble reason for keeping his,
Somebody could get this phone number and answer the phone and say that they are the bank. 866.
the reality is protecting the bank and people's identities
Hi, my name is Scott Nelson.
Rhonda Hayes.
Kelly Lanier.
is becoming a full-time job. And hey, you want to know what the kicker of this whole thing is?
Oh, gosh. My last name is Barclay.
Whoa. What you talking about, Willis?
My last name is Barclay.
Well, you simply can't yada that. Which means all these customers calling Brandon by mistake, I guess you could say,
Representative, this is Barkley.
are not completely wrong.
When I was growing up, our dad insisted that we answer the phone Barclays. But I can't do that here.
No, Mr. Barclay.
This is getting to be ridiculous. Bye.
No, you can't.
All right, so Brandon says instead of changing his number, he is changing his voicemail to be more specific to his business, hoping that will cut back on the number of messages that he gets. But it's certainly not going to cut down on the number of calls, and he apparently is willing to live with that. The lesson is this: don't leave your name and credit card number on a voicemail. Never, ever. It was 1 year ago today. Unified Police Officer Doug Barney was shot and killed by a wanted parolee. Now, over the past year, federal agents, detectives, and prosecutors have all been quietly investigating just how Corey Henderson got his hands on the gun that he used to ambush Barney. Tonight, investigative reporter Debbie Dujanovic follows the trail of that gun and has this exclusive report. Debbie?
Yeah, Mike, welcome to a dark world where criminals connect to trade drugs and guns, and killing can be the cost of doing business. Sound like New York, LA? Well, this case unfolded beginning to end in Salt Lake City.
In this darker side of our society, it's almost a hell. When crimes occur in hell, there are no angels as witnesses.
It was a hunch that told U.S. Attorney John Huber that this gun used to kill Officer Doug Barney had a history.
From one crook to the next, from one violent criminal to another violent criminal.
Before it made its way to Corey Henderson.
Henderson was a parolee on the run from a halfway house when he murdered Officer Barney and injured Officer John Ritchie. Henderson was killed in a shootout with police, and immediately after, law enforcement wanted to know all about that gun Henderson was packing.
How did a convicted felon receive a firearm and that ultimately was used to kill an officer?
Federal agents with the ATF joined forces with gang detectives from the Unified Police Department.
They were able to determine that the gun traveled about 5 different people before it ultimately was given to Corey Henderson.
Within days, a database search of the serial number gave investigators their first lead, that a man had legally purchased the gun from a Salt Lake City pawn shop in 2012. He gave it away as a gift. By the spring of 2015, a family member grew nervous about having the gun around and gave it to her mom for safekeeping. And that's where trouble begins. Carolyn Seidel is a convicted felon who could not legally possess a gun.
When they got a hold of this gun, it moved with lightning speed.
Court records show Seidel rented a room to a heroin addict, and around December 20th, the addict took that gun to a drug deal involving a convict named Joe Katoa.
Joe Katoa is a documented Tongan Crip gang member.
And Katoa was going to get that gun.
They taxed him, which is a street term for they stole it from him.
Katoa had it about 3 weeks. By then, parolee Corey Henderson was on the run from the law and came to Katoa on January 13th in need of a gun.
Firearms are traded for narcotics. They're traded for protection.
4 days later, on January 17th, Henderson used that gun to kill Officer Doug Barney. Not everyone involved in this case was criminally charged, but Seidel pled guilty to illegally possessing a firearm and is serving probation. And Joe Katoa, he went to trial, and in November it ended in a hung jury. Huber wonders if the jury failed to convict him because
it's hard for us as law-abiding people to imagine there is this lawless, seedy side to our beautiful community.
But federal prosecutors did not give up. They prepared to go to trial again with Katoa when Katoa pled guilty to being a felon in possession of a firearm. He was sentenced to 1 year behind bars. The case is now closed.
It's amazing when you look at that timeline, and like you mentioned, I mean, this is one case. You wonder how many dozens, hundreds, thousands of other cases are similar to this one.
It takes so long for them to prove who had that gun and when. But they did in this case, and they got convictions.
All right, great reporting. Debbie, thank you.